for most people who because there's enough room in the space as realtor to have different personalities. It takes all types.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
but it definitely takes a certain type to do the job.
My name is Kevin McIntosh, and this is The Closing Table, where we talk to experts about their experience in real estate all across the country. Let's go. All right, welcome back to The Closing Table. My name is Kevin C. McIntosh, your host. Happy to be here. And as usual, we have another top producing real estate agent as a guest. We want to welcome today Jim O'Neill. How are you, Jim?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Man, I'm doing good myself, man. Another day, can't complain, man. So, hey, we here to talk about real estate, right? And we want to talk more about real estate in your market and your specific experience. But before we do that, I'd like to loosen up a little bit. Start things off with an icebreaker, Jim. Got one for you. It's called word association. Don't know if you've ever heard of that, but essentially it's just a couple words that I have related to real estate, and I want you to give me the first thought that's associated with it, whether that's a word, a sentence, story, definition. I don't care. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
All right, cool. First one, pre-approval.
Lender.
Interesting. Homeowners association.
Annoying.
Okay. Escrow.
Title.
Okay. Closing costs.
Fees.
Mm-hmm. Last one, fair market value.
Price.
Okay. Legit. I would agree with those. Like that. All right. Thanks for starting things off with us, Jim. Icebreaker to get things kicked off, man. So now let's get things rolling into to who you are, Jim. I'd like to take this time, if you can, tell me and our audience, who is Jim O'Neill outside of real estate?
Outside of real estate, I'm a father. I'm a husband. I'm someone who likes to take care of my mind, my body, my spirit, and just generally get as much as I can out of life in general, and bring as much value to other people while I'm here as possible.
There it is. Sounds like a sound man with a sound plan. All right. With that being said, let's roll into where you are. And you can describe your current market first geographically in regards to where you are, any notable landmarks and stuff like that. Describe it for anybody who may have never been there. Then get into the economics of it in regards to real estate.
All right. So we are in Akron, Ohio, which is Northeast Ohio, about 26 miles south of Cleveland. A lot of famous, influential people actually come from Akron, Ohio. LeBron James probably comes.
Really?
Yeah, LeBron probably comes to mind first. Second is the Black Keys, probably for younger people who like rock and roll. Judy
Nice.
Resnick was from Akron, Ohio. She died in the Challenger in the early '80s. An astronaut.
Okay.
Yeah, it was the
Didn't know
rubber
that.
capital of the world, probably through the '40s, '50s, and '60s. So just a typical Rust Belt Midwestern city. A lot of hardworking folks. Most people here are from here. We don't get a lot of people coming in from other parts of the country. But yeah, and the economics of the area. There's some tech. Goodyear is still here. Firestone is still here. Continental Tire is here. But then you have Akron General, Cleveland Clinic, Summa Hospitals. So a lot of healthcare, a little bit of innovation rather than tech, I would say. And then
Okay.
just a plethora of white collar, blue collar jobs. and I would probably say it's just a typical working city in America.
Interesting, interesting. You know that when I ask people to describe their market, that's the type of information that I'm looking for. Like you really painted that picture. I had no idea Akron was one of the rubber capital of the country or the world, whatever you
Yeah.
called it. Like I had no idea of that. You know what I'm saying? And with it being so close to Detroit, they make the tires. They send them there. So that's great insight. I appreciate that. So what's going on in regards to real estate there? You got any information to share in regards to how things are moving, average time on the market, average price, anything like that?
Yeah, so I'd have to look up stats for average time on market. It's
Okay.
similar to the rest of the country in terms of, like, if it's
Right.
priced right, it's going to sell in 4 days. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Average sale price is probably just under $200,000, 200
Okay.
200,000. Um,
Okay.
and
Hmm.
in recent years have gotten a lot of attention for being like investor friendly, because
Okay.
rents are kind of on par with the rest of the country, while you can still acquire like a single family home that's in decent condition. I mean, a couple years ago you could get it for 40K. Now they're closer to 75, 80. But still on, looking at a rent roll, you can still get pretty good residual income on a lot of the properties in Akron. So
Interesting, interesting. All right, now Akron, we hear it. We see you now. If I'm not mistaken, I believe it was listed as one of the most affordable markets in the country at one point. I forgot where I read that, but I think Akron was that. So that makes sense now that you mention it.
it'll
I
pop
want to
up
talk
on.
about you.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead, please.
Oh, Akron will pop up on some lists here and there. Um, and I'll usually get a call from somebody not from Akron, like once a month or so, looking to invest in real estate in Akron.
Mm. So it's one of those under the radar cities that I mean, if you really
Yeah,
want to invest and get some skin in the game, I'll say, then Akron would be that place. It sounds like.
it could
I
be.
wanna I wanna talk about what got you to where you are now. Basically from your previous experiences, right? So do you have any previous occupations that you feel like provided you with skills and knowledge to give you an advantage in your real estate career?
Well, I was a landscaper. I grew up a landscaper.
Mm.
Um,
Okay.
I worked my way into management. So I was accustomed to working long hours for little money.
Mhm,
And I
mm.
think that that's a really good background coming into real estate. Yeah, I mean, uh, and I started selling real estate in 2013. So that was
Okay.
really before there was any TV shows or podcasts about it or anything. And I got
Right.
into real estate so I could put a little bit of sales experience on my resume and go get a real job. That's why I got into real estate. And then
Mm.
that was the thought that I had coming in,
Right.
because no one wanted to hire a 29-year-old kid who had only landscaping experience on his resume. So I figured, oh, let me get a couple sales under my belt and
Mhm.
show that I can sell stuff, and then then I'll go get a job doing something different. And that was a decade ago. So here we are.
And they got a hold of you, and you've been here ever since 10 years. First of all, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
That proves success. And then secondly, the fact that you were interested in sales. Nobody, I mean, I'm not to say nobody, but not everybody has that passion or even an interest to go into sales. I kind of run away from that sometimes.
Oh,
I'm
really?
not gonna lie. Like I don't necessarily like I feel like it's pressuring people to buy things. I know that's not the case. You got to flip your perspective, but for you to really want that and pursue that, that just shows how different you're built already, man.
I wanted to. I just wanted to engage with people in an environment outside of management. Because when I was a manager, I
Okay.
felt like a parent. I felt like an authoritative figure. Because I'd have guys that worked for me, and they'd be huddled up in the yard talking before I went to work, and then I walk up, and then everyone just kind of like walks away, And that,
Oh,
you know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Like, like, oh, here's the boss
Yeah.
telling us what to do. And that turned me off. Like,
Yeah.
you know, whereas I mean, that sort of response from people was just I hated it because
Mhm.
that's not who I am.
I bet.
I very much am one of those people that like I want people to like me, and when and I feel like in sales, I'm not a pressure type person, especially in real estate sales.
Right.
Everybody wants to talk to a realtor at the party. Everybody wants to say, "Oh, my neighbor's house or this or that," and so how's the market, blah blah blah. So yeah, I don't look at it as pressuring or being
Mhm.
constrictive at all. I think it just opens a lot of conversations.
No, I agree. I agree. And that's what I had to change my whole mindset to when it came to sales, especially with someone with the small business. I'm like, I don't have to look at it like that. It's better to just look at it as becoming an expert in a certain field and being known as being an expert in that field. That way, if anyone has any questions, they can come to you and ask you, or you can just spread and share that knowledge if you feel like someone needs your services as a solution to their problem. So
Yeah, and
changing that mindset was
yeah,
what it was for me.
being
Mm.
transparent about the motive too, because in management, my motive is to make
Mm-hmm.
in management, my motivation is to make you work harder so somebody else can make money. Whereas
Yeah.
my motive as a salesperson is to educate you, help you, and get a referral. And I'm very clear about
Facts.
that up front. And I say, listen, you know, if at any point in time you want to know what's my angle and what's my motive, I'll tell you right now. First of all, I'm not going to make enough money off of you to retire, and I'm not old enough to retire. So my motive is to do such a good job for you that you can't stop telling people, because that's what's
Yep.
going to help me retire. Because if I make you
Mm-hmm.
happy, you're going
Mm-hmm.
to tell someone, and then I can potentially make them happy too. And that's how I get to the end of the yellow brick road. Not selling you some
Man.
some $75,000 house in Akron, taking my taking my little commission check up to the casino. Like, that's not how it's going to play out.
Take right.
So
Exactly. For real. Some people have that mindset though when it comes to a salesperson. So I know exactly what you mean. I know
yeah.
exactly what you mean. You already spoke on the fact that Akron has a strong healthcare industry.
Mhm.
Cleveland Clinic being one of the places there, with multiple hospitals and medical centers. Can you talk about a time where you helped a healthcare professional buy or sell their property and discuss any programs that may have helped your client in that process?
Yeah, I mean, we got a couple doctor programs that lenders will run, that we bump into here and there. There's a lot of hero programs where nurses, first responders, stuff like that. They're going to get not discounts, but reduced closing costs, pay lower fees, stuff like that. So
Hmm.
there's a lot that goes on, particularly on the lender side, that's going to help those clients. With some of those front end expenses, which is pretty cool. And then there's so our area, and I'm sure it's like this. I would assume it's like this, in the rest of the country. But like doctors, nurses, anyone in healthcare, anyone in public service, whether it's police, fire, EMS, stuff like that, and teachers.
Right.
If
Oh
you
yeah,
are
yeah.
in one of those lines of work, which are kind of hero uh, lines, there's
Hmm.
a number of lending institutions who want to help people in those fields, and will do a lot. And we do participate in that because some of that does, um, some of those perks come from realtor commissions. Like, the money just doesn't,
Okay.
like, right. It doesn't just like, oh, hey, we just found some money and we're going to give it to you. No, it's like title
Hmm.
chips in, the realtors chip in, and the lender chips in, and we all chip in so that these people who are doing very honorable jobs in the community can have an
Right.
easier step into healthcare.
There
And
you
that's
go. Take care of the people that takes care of the people.
Yeah, and that's something that we get involved in at every opportunity we can.
Man, I love that. I love that. Love to hear that, man. It should always be considered. I mean, especially considering the fact that A lot of people can argue that they don't get the wages that they probably,
They
deserve.
they
So
don't.
it's
And
good to get, some type of leverage.
yeah, and they don't. They don't know,
Hmm.
they absolutely don't. So,
Yeah, yeah. Take us through a day in the life of Jim. Let's say more specifically, because I know your days are different, right? So walk us through your most recent work day, from beginning to end. What does that usually consist of? Do you have a routine pattern? How do you adjust?
yeah, I mean, there's a lot there, I'm pretty, I'm pretty into just the whole idea of personal development. So, I wake up, I'm out of bed by, I do what I call a 6 by 6. So I'm out of bed by 6 days a week. And the first thing I do is work out. And so, I'm going to, go to a couple, I'm gonna either go to whatever, just I'm going to exercise for usually about an hour.
Hmm.
And then I come home, get a little quick bite to eat, do some reflecting, reading, journaling, and then by that time my kids are probably up in the summertime. It's different, during the school year. Not different. It's
Hmm.
just the timing's a little different. So by that time, my kids are usually up and they're doing kids stuff. So I spend a little bit of time attending to their needs, and then
Yeah.
I'm out of the house, or I start working at home in the office. But usually by about 9 o'clock, I'm starting to get into the daily tasks of just the things that I need to get done that day, with a lot of freedom in between those, because as a realtor, like running a really like minute to minute like regimented schedule, um, isn't I think the best, because it's in those in between moments that opportunities pop up. So I will
Okay.
have,
Okay.
yeah, like like, let's say that I'm gonna wake up at 6, I'm gonna get to the gym at 7, I'm gonna be home by 8, and then by 8, I'm gonna be in the shower by 8:20, I'm gonna be out of this, I'm gonna be on the road by 8:45, and then blah 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 blah. Well, that's not gonna allow me to
Right.
have a 20-minute conversation with somebody in the parking lot after working
Hmm.
out. Maybe they need to vent or talk
Hmm.
about something, or maybe they have a need that I can help with. But if I'm just if I'm minute to minute on a real tight schedule, it's gonna, it's gonna limit the opportunities that I have in life. Um,
Right.
I don't want to like run to my prospecting. Like it's in my calendar. I gotta go prospect when I'm ignoring an opportunity to prospect. You know,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
90, well, whatever the statistic is like the business comes from the people that know, like, and trust you. So I try to spend as much time as possible getting to know people, and
Right.
um, usually a good kind of metric is if they know, like, and trust me, is if I know, like, and trust them, because usually things are pretty reciprocal. So um,
Mm. I like that. I like that.
and then so I try to get to know, like, and trust as many people as possible. But then the office stuff is the office stuff. You maybe got a listing walkthrough, listing appointment, showings. Working with other
Hmm.
agents. Within our group. Um, so there's just the day to day stuff, and then I have things that I do to prospect on a daily basis. So it's
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, man. Let me tell you, Jim, one thing that you spoke on that I love, and I just recently had this conversation with another guest, and it helps you out not only as a professional, but as a man, as a leader of a household. Let me tell you that because you want to make the best of your time. You want to be very efficient and productive with your time. We only have 24 hours.
Hmm.
When you have kids, that definitely affects your schedule. You're on their time also. So you getting up early, you having this schedule, but the key thing that you said is having that little miscellaneous time in
Hmm.
between to where you can take advantage of those rare opportunities, or you can adjust to things that may happen out of nowhere. And that's what I feel like is very, very important, because I just recently, just on a personal level, started to try to manage my time more. And I noticed, like, I have everything back to back to back to back. What about that in between time when I just want to, stay lounge around with my family, or go talk to someone new? I have to make time for that. So when you spoke on that, it sparked that bug of something that we mentioned before. So kudos to you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Yeah. Can you speak on a situation where you had an intense disagreement with another agent on the other side of the closing table, either throughout the process or maybe towards closing, and then talk about how it was resolved?
I mean, not intense.
Okay.
Um, because I'm not going
Okay.
to go there
That's fair.
with another agent.
Hmm.
It's just not going to happen. I was told and taught very early in my career that this transaction has nothing to do with me. My name's not on the contract. I'm not paying for it, and I'm not going to live there. So for me to
Hmm.
wrap my emotions into the outcome is silly. And it's a good way to have a short career because there's a lot of rejection in this business. So if you're gonna just pull, like attach your emotions to the outcome, that's going to be a big
Hmm.
problem, and it's not going to lead to a long, prosperous career. It's going to be very short sighted, and then you're going to be living in like kind of a scarcity mindset. I really try to attach my fulfillment to the actions that I take, the interactions that I have, and the little stuff in between, the trust building aspects of a transaction rather than the outcome. And if an agent wants to fight with me, I'm just going to say, like, I will just ask, like, what this isn't, it doesn't matter what you and I think. It matters what the buyer and the seller think. And if they can't come to terms, then this conversation is over, and that's fine because at the end of the day, no one's going to get hurt and no one's going to go broke. So if you and I can't have a conversation and find common ground for what our clients want, not what we want, it's what our buyer and seller
Hmm.
want, then we should just probably save the moments of our lives and move on. So
Yeah. Yeah. Because I've recently found out through conversation that there's egos involved in
big time.
real estate agent conversations. Who would have known? Who would have known?
Yeah.
But with that being said, I know that you're gonna, once I kind of discovered that, I was like, oh, I should ask about those type of tensions between agents because I can understand it getting there. But I love your approach to that. Just this ain't about us. This
No.
is about somebody else. Like I'm speaking for them and I'm speaking for their best interest. I don't want to necessarily get angry over anything involved in this,
No.
because it's already tough for somebody else. So I love that approach, first and
Yeah.
foremost. And it takes being the bigger man in that situation because not everybody thinks like that.
If if this is your profession, not a hobby, then we have a fiduciary duty to our clients to be professional. And professionals don't get in
Right, right.
arguments. You know what I mean? They don't come to flipping out about stuff. Um,
Hmm.
that's my opinion. So
Yeah.
it's just yeah. I mean, when was the last time you saw a couple doctors throwing down in the middle of a hallway? It's just like
Grey's Anatomy.
yeah. They don't
The
just
TV shows.
yeah. Um, and I think TV's kind of really uh, had a negative impact. I mean, I think it has a negative impact on many industries, right? Like, I mean, you think that like every,
Mm.
like
Are you
CSI is
taking it there?
CSI is a TV show,
Yeah.
like Grey's Anatomy is a TV show, and then real estate has become a TV show. It's not
Exactly.
it's not glamorous. There's
Hmm.
people think that we just pop bottles and drive around in fancy cars. Like no one, they don't show what it's like to start as like as an agent being like scared to death of like, oh, I don't want to make a mistake and I don't know what and it's
Right.
it's just a series of failing and I think as long as you can fail forward, then it'll eventually come together. I think for most people who because there's enough room in the space as realtor to have different personalities. It takes all types.
Hmm.
So, but
Hmm.
it definitely takes a certain type to do the job. well.
Right, right. Jim, you know what you just said that just rung a bell in my head, and you already spoke on it briefly. The effect of real estate TV shows on clients' expectations in this
Mhm.
process. Have you seen this on a firsthand basis where a client may have seen too many real estate shows and expected something in the process that just wasn't realistic?
Um, I mean, maybe with the condition of properties, you know,
Okay.
because we're in Northeast Ohio. You know what I mean? This isn't Beverly Hills. Um,
Right.
you know,
Okay.
this is, I mean, so the condition of some of the properties in the price point that people are looking, it's like, oh wait, it's
Mm.
just that may not line up with expectations.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, I can understand. You just have this fantasy of what you expect and expect to get, and it's just, especially in today's market, like you can forget that TV show stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
they're cool.
were you about to say something,
No, the
please?
TV shows are fun to watch. I mean,
Yeah.
and having, I think having attention from TV shows has probably helped to frame the public's perception of agents a little bit, maybe a little bit more positively. I think that
Okay.
the public uh, thinks that every agent makes a ton of money, which we all know is not true. But um,
Yeah.
so there's good and bad. There's good and bad.
Yeah. 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 No, that's fair. That's fair to say. That's fair to say. Speaking of Akron, getting back to it, I know it's home of University of Akron.
Hmm.
So with that being said, it has to have some type of impact on the real estate community, that population. So, I mean, from going from your personal experience, do you have any experience helping a recent college grad into becoming a homeowner in that market? And can you speak on any challenges they had to face during that process?
Um. So yes, but I'll kind of back the question out a little bit
Okay.
because we've got a lot of kids that either maybe they come to Akron. Well, I do have one client who came, and let me just use him as an example. Him and his wife came from a different part of Ohio, went to Akron U, fell in love with the city of Akron, bought a house before I met them, and
Hmm.
we ran into each other through a lead source that I was participating in at the time, and I ended up selling him a duplex, a side by side house. And then sold
Okay.
him another duplex, and then a triplex, and then I sold his house and sold him another house, and then sold that house and helped him buy another one. So, like that was a specific instance where I met a recent college graduate from the University of Akron and worked with them. But we also have Kent State University. A lot of
Right.
kids go away to college and then come back, and then But I think that the recent college graduates aren't really able to buy houses right now. No,
Mm, sad
it's
truth.
just not happening. So your first time buyer is
Yeah.
28 to 34. Whereas before
Hmm.
28 to 34, probably 15 years ago was your move up buyer. So it's like we
Right.
almost lost a whole for a number of reasons, which we would not enough time to get into. But that your first time, your recent college graduate spending probably between $600 and $1,200 a month on rent. So like, yeah, I helped that person, but
Yeah.
that was 10 years ago. And he's been a client with me now for, I mean, since 2014, so 9 years. And we've worked together
Right.
for about nine
Nice.
years. So
Nice.
yeah.
Well, it just goes to show that your work ethic and your work in general is trusted. It's proven, and you've helped people gain success through this. So I mean that's a beautiful story right there. But
Thank you.
honestly, yeah, like you said, it's a sad truth, man. College grads
No,
they can't
no,
afford to buy a home. I mean, it's barely affording meals in college. Now you expected to buy a house.
yeah.
Like I get it. It makes sense,
So,
but you know in a perfect world, I guess. Can you talk about some of the mistakes that you made during your first transaction and what you learned from them?
oh God. Uh,
Yep, here it is.
yeah, tons of mistakes. Um, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I like my one of my first transactions was a real horror story, and I almost left. I almost left the business because I experienced some. It was just not a good experience. But I learned a few things. I learned
Right.
that having a good broker is really important. Having somebody that having like a broker that you can contact very quickly is super important for
Yeah.
me. And I do like to ask a lot of questions. But
Mm-hmm.
you know, um, I've, I would say I've always been a high transaction guy. Whereas like uh, my average sale price is 198,000 in Akron, Ohio. And there's tons of agents whose, average sale price is 250, 400, whatever. Um,
Right.
so I'm usually doing on average I'll, about 60 transactions a year. So like
Nice.
things are moving. And I think anytime you're bumping into that many people and involved in that many transactions, there's going to be turmoil at some point. But I can
Mm-hmm.
say this so I don't even know how many homes I've sold. I'm attached to more homes now because I have agents that work on a team that I co-own.
Right.
But I don't have any past clients that won't talk to me, and that's I think like you know what I mean. Like I don't have anyone that won't talk to me anymore. Um,
There you go.
so do people get upset with how things shake out all the time? All the time. But what can we do about that?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. Yeah. And that's good though, because like it just says that you made your mistake, you owned up to it, but it wasn't a mistake to where you probably couldn't get a referral from that person, or they wouldn't reach out if they still had a question or something like that. So
yeah, yeah,
I mean that there you
and
go.
some of the things that are perceived as mistakes aren't necessarily mistakes. You know,
Exact. I love that. Mm-hmm.
sometimes things just don't shake out the way that you were. I mean, because how are we supposed to control another person?
You can't. Exactly. I love it.
So, um, like the I have, I think the thing that I've gotten the best at over the course of time is
Mm-hmm.
setting expectations and explaining potential outcomes to different circumstances. Because I think the reason that
There
people
you
get
go.
mad, because I'm like, and I think that like I would say 99.9% of realtors out there are not going into any single day saying I want to lie, cheat, or steal. You know what I mean, or manipulate. Right? Most people come in like I just I'm attracted to the workflow, the work life balance, whatever. That's why people get into real estate. No one comes in and is like, I'm gonna rake someone over the coals this afternoon. I just don't know who it's going to be yet. That's not
Mm,
the mo of most agents that I know. So the mistakes or whatever, I think it's not necessarily a mistake. It's a failure to set the appropriate expectation, which leads to somebody angry or upset or dissatisfied.
disappointed or whatever. Yep.
And
Yep.
then
Well said.
the agent, and then it's my responsibility when I sense that there's a miscommunication, a missed expectation, to inquire about it and to say like, Kevin, you seem like you're
Right.
upset. What's Can I ask, like, what specifically are you upset about? And they're like, well, this or this, and it's like,
Mhm.
okay, but anyway, that's how I
No.
that's how I see it.
Yeah, no, hey, that's true. I love that it's the same thing with people saying it's not a loss, it's a learning lesson. It's not a mistake. It's just we set wrong expectations. I love that perspective, man. I love that. You already said that you co-own your current brokerage, right? Now, this is
Team.
with a family member, if I'm not mistaken. Team?
Uh, no, we are not related. We just
Okay.
we just have the same last name.
Ah, glad you clarified
Yeah.
that. Okay, first off, let's just talk about it then. Having a partnership anyway. Can you speak on the pros and cons of the partnership in your business?
Yeah. So the pros vastly outweigh the cons. Now,
Of
I
course.
think that he and I got really lucky uh, with each other. And that is that we worked
Mm,
in the same office, we had the same last name, we drove the same truck, we went to the same high school, and a lot of people already thought we were related. So that's
mm-hmm.
like, you know, number one, you're probably not going to find a person like that in your market area. Uh,
Right.
number two, we had very similar businesses. We sold about the same amount of houses. We had about the same amount of members on our team, and we our offices were about next door to each other. You know what I mean? Like we were right down the hall. Um,
Oh, nice.
so it was kind of one of these like, you know, there was a lot of you know, like I've heard it said like I don't believe in coincidence because I feel that way. Like I don't really believe in coincidence. I think there's kind of like little indicators from whatever you want to call it, you know, God, universe, whatever, of like, hey, you
Mm-hmm.
know, things start to align. And
Correct. I believe that. Yep.
yeah, so we would always hang out, go to lunch, and you know, people would come into the market center and they would want to interview to be on a team, and they would sit down with me and they would sit down with him, and then it's like this is kind of silly. We both had very similar goals, and you know, like they would interview the two of us. You know, it's like so. We took a look at the market in 2021 and kind of had some ideas that some things were going to change. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Probably pretty quick, and we decided that we would like to go into the future as a combined powerhouse rather than you know two individual horses. And they say that
Love
like
it.
they say that one Clydesdale can pull like X amount of weight on a whatever you know like a whatever they call it, a carriage or whatever, a cart.
Mm-hmm.
Two Clydesdales can pull uh, that amount plot like so they can pull 150% more together. And it's not because the two
Mm.
Clydesdales are that much stronger. You know what I mean? Like if you have 100% and
Right.
100%, that's 200%. But now we're pulling at 250%. And the reason they can pull at
Mm-hmm.
250% is because they compete with each other to pool. They're like, oh, I don't want you pulling more than me. And that's what we've
Right.
done. He's like,
Mm.
he's sold a little bit more than me this year, and there's nothing that makes me, it just, you know, like I gotta get to work. Cause like, what is he gonna sell more houses than me this year? You know what I mean?
Man.
Is he gonna contribute more? But we've got a really good operating agreement. You know, it's really cool. We put some really unique things in place to look out for each other's family and stuff like that. You know, if anything like were to happen to either of us, um, and
Nice.
it's a true partnership. We share everything, and it's it's very um, it's awesome to be a part of something special like that too. You know, because selling real estate can be very lonely. You know, I did it for
Yeah.
you know 9 years by myself. There's no one to really there's no one to celebrate with, and there's no one to really like cry with. You're just kind of there. You know, you go
Mm.
home and your
Yeah.
wife's like, "How was work?" Like, "Oh God, don't even get me started." And she's like, "Okay, well then I won't. Can you go get all this stuff done?" And you know, I don't care who you are. Like, this is a very it is it can be very emotionally draining, and not because I get my emotions involved, but I'm absorbing. I'm a shock absorber for other
Yep.
people's
Other people.
fear,
Mm-hmm.
expectation, you know, whatever. But you also get the good stuff. You get the excitement, you know, you get the gratitude and all that too. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Great, great point, man. Love it, love it. Love to hear that how you two come together for that. You know, collaboration over competition, man.
yeah,
And more than anything, you still too have competition, but it's good competition. It's motivational competition, which is necessary,
yeah,
man. You have to, you know, differentiate the two.
yeah.
Can you Can you take this moment right now to inspire me and our audience with whatever book, quote, movie, philosophy that you feel like changed your life or just helped your life, and share that with us to help change our life?
Oh God, that's a big one. Um, man, um, I mean, I guess what I could say is, um, like focus. The outside's not going to fix, or the outside stuff isn't going to make me feel any better, and if I am continually chasing paychecks or status or whatever, insert like dopamine provider, uh like I'm not ever going to be full. And I really believe that in order to be the most effective and the most helpful and the best person, um, I've got to be fulfilled in what I'm doing. And so I think get to a point where you're looking in the mirror and you're looking at the best version of yourself, and that's never it's not attainable. Like I'm never going to get there, but if I can look and if I can take every day and just look in the mirror and just be like, I'm really happy with who I see, because of like I do esteemable things. I help people. I take care of myself, and I really try not to go to bed with, oh man, I should have, or
Mm,
tomorrow will be different.
mm,
Um,
mhm.
and that was something for me that has taken a long time to I guess even like be able to identify as something that's helpful for me. So I think the first thing, in order for me to be successful, I have to really just be good with who I am, look in the mirror, and be proud of who I see, and then take that into the world, and that's where it's just it's that's the kind of snowball effect. Um,
Mm.
yeah, I don't know.
Love it,
It wasn't a
man.
book, it wasn't a movie, it wasn't a quote. It was just you know.
That came from the heart. I
Well,
could
thank
tell,
you.
Jim, that came from the heart. And I love that even more, man. I love that. What I take from that, because I feel like you were even speaking to me, man. I needed that message. But
Oh,
I
thank you.
took from that, reach from within, man. Reach from within. A lot of the answers that you're looking for are within. You don't have to go out to any of these outside factors, look to anyone else, any other vices. It's right here, man.
Yeah,
It's right here.
and I try to do hard stuff every day. I try to do something very, very difficult. And if I wanted an easier, there's a lot of easier careers out there. This is not an easy career.
Hmm.
It's you're going to be told no way more than you're told yes. There's going to be
Yeah.
nights where you just sleepless nights, worried about whatever it may be, and for me, it usually comes down to like I'm afraid I'm going to lose what I have, and I'm afraid I'm not going to get what I want, which is so silly because I have everything I
Yeah.
need. So
Mm.
like I just
Well
spend
said.
too much time in yesterday and a lot of time worrying about tomorrow. Where usually today is like I'm fine. And here's the best part. I'm always like the time that stress hits me. I'm either in my car. Okay, so number one, I have a car. How privileged am I? I got a car, or
I know,
I'm
right?
laying in my bed. I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm laying in my
In your
comfortable
house,
in my
right?
house, temperature controlled, full belly, and here I
Kids are
am.
good.
Yeah, everyone's fast asleep, and here I am stressed out about stuff that just doesn't even matter. So, I
Man. Hey, Jim, thank you, man. We appreciate the word. Thank you for pulling up a chair and being a guest on the closing table. Hey, at this point, if you have any last words and or want to tell people how to reach out to you, please do so now.
you can get me on. I'll give you my cell phone number. That's usually the easiest. 330-714-4720. Social media is James O'Neill. It's James O apostrophe Neil. And then our team is the Elite Sales Team. So you can find that at Elite Sales Team on Instagram, the Elite Sales Team on Facebook, all that kind of stuff. But uh, the easiest is to just send me a text message. And I don't care if anyone wants to reach out. That's totally fine.
There it is. There it is. Thank you again, Jim, for being here and sharing your knowledge. We appreciate that a lot. For our YouTube audience right now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, this is your opportunity to do us both a favor and hit the like button, please and thank you. Make sure you also share the content and subscribe to our channel. And if you are listening on Apple, Spotify, or any other podcast platforms, please do the same. Give us a like, a 5-star rating, and subscribe for our latest content. And Jim, I'd like to leave our audience with a question before they leave the chat. So this is for you, audience. How do you help your clients take advantage of programs that are tailored to their unique situation? Don't tell us now. Leave it in the comments below. Besides that,